Outer Banks. They have a rental home in Rodanthe, and then they live in one in Manio.
Okay.
And then Mary's in Hawaii, Adrian's in Hawaii, and David's in Maryland. So, you know, you just, I got him in the car, because it's hot as Hades out there. Got him in the car, and we talked and talked and talked, and, you know, showing pictures of the kids, the grandkids, and talking about the kids. And it turns out they come here quite often, but they don't contact anybody. So I said, well, that's finished. So they're gonna come back for the whole month of August, and Olga's going to stay the whole month, and he's gonna go back and forth. He works part-time now in one of the clinics up there.
Okay.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Now I have their phone number, which I didn't have. They had changed them. Now I have their emails. Now I've got them called, did you know the Giannis, June? Yeah. I called June Gianni. I go, guess who, what happened?
Yeah, because you saw him too in Hawaii, right?
I saw Adrian, I saw Mary.
Right.
And I saw Vinny, yes. And Vinny got married the week before. And now they've had a baby, so Vinny is a stay-at-home dad 2 days a week, and his wife stays home 3 days a week, and they're both doctors. So I was all these doctors. They are married to a doctor. Adrian's dating somebody who's not a doctor, and then Vinny's married to a doctor, and he's a doctor. So I gotta come back here and see y'all. You're so much fun. So,
But yeah, I've been to, I don't know, 6 or 7 Rotary conventions, and they're amazing.
yeah. Are you comfortable? Are you relaxed?
Yeah.
You're comfortable and relaxed? Okay.
I have a bad back, so I sit up very straight, which
Oh, okay.
people
okay.
think means I'm uncomfortable, but
No, all right. Just, you can be relaxed, you can smile, you can, yes, that's the Doug smile, the relaxed Doug smile that you know. All right, are we ready to go?
Yes, we are.
Okay, this is just gonna be conversational,
Okay.
just like it's been the last few minutes, all
Right.
right? We already talked about the fact that we had a goal of talking about the youth exchange, but I wanna start out and have you, when you respond to me, try to include part of the question
okay.
in how you respond, because what I ask is not going to be on the video. It's only gonna be your response. So if you get a little preface, if I ask you, you know, what club are you a member of and how long have you been in Rotary, you just go, well, I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Morehead City Noon, and I've been in Rotary X number of years. So include the question
Okay.
in your answer, if you can.
I have one other thing. Would you mind just look at the camera? This is the only time I want you to look at the camera.
Yeah, okay.
Say your name, then spell your name.
Okay. My name is Douglas Wolfe. It's DOUGLAS
Perfect. That's all you're going to get from me.
That was good. Okay. All right, Doug. I know you've been in Rotary a long time and a lot of experiences. What club are you a member of, and how many years have you been in Rotary?
I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Morehead City Noon, and I joined Rotary in July of 1993, so I'm coming up on my 31st year anniversary.
Wonderful. And can you tell us some of the positions that you've had, some of the leadership positions you've had in Rotary?
I was a board member for several years. Most Rotary board members in our club anyway are appointed to 3-year positions. So I served as a board member first, then I served as the club treasurer for at least 1 year, maybe 2, and then was chosen to get in the president line. We have a line of succession that builds up to the president that's several years long. And so I got into that, and I was the Rotary Club president in 2004, 2005, which was the centennial year of Rotary's 100 years as a service organization. And that was terrific to be there that president year.
What was that like to be that centennial year in Rotary? How did it feel here locally?
The club's for the centennial year of Rotary, the clubs were challenged to make some lasting impact on their local communities, just to find some project and whatnot. And we knew this coming a couple of years before the centennial event happened. So Buff Chalk was president of the club the year before me, and he and I and David Horton and a few other people came up with the idea of Rotary Park, which is a large park in Morehead City, and that was created in this whole time period. I certainly don't claim full responsibility for it, but I was one of the players involved in creating that park and putting up a big, huge Rotary sign at the front gate and all of that. It was a terrific project.
Absolutely, that is a big impact. Can you describe Rotary Park a little bit to me?
Rotary Park's on a fairly busy intersection, which is close to downtown, it's close to the schools, it's close to a lot of different places. And there is a minor league baseball stadium there now, and there are multiple fields for children's sports, soccer, baseball stuff, all kinds of different sporting activities go, and it's just a nice civic park.
I enjoy going there. Our club does too. I've watched soccer games there, and the picnic tables we've used, and the playground is wonderful. That's a real asset to the community, and so glad. I joined Rotary during your year. You were president when I joined Rotary in
really?
2004. Yeah, you don't remember that? That wasn't like a banner day in your life, bringing me in as president. That was certainly a big part of what clubs were involved with making that park come to fruition.
As best I can remember, all the clubs in Carteret County were involved on some level of making Rotary Park successful, in making it happen in the first place and then helping it to succeed. I know I went back there, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. We went back to build some tree enclosures. The park's maintenance crew wanted enclosures so that they could keep grass out of, they didn't have to mow right up against the trees themselves. So Matt Zettel volunteered his wood shop and expertise, and we spent one weekend getting all the pieces cut to the right dimensions, and then another weekend going out to the park and putting them all in place.
Excellent, excellent. I want to shift gears a little bit now to what you and I talked about before, which was the youth exchange and your experience with Jane in hosting one of the youth exchange women. So if you can just introduce a little bit about how you became aware of it, what the program is, and then your experience in bringing, and I'm terrible, I can't remember her name, your young woman. Julianne, all right, excellent. So if you can just preface it a little with the background of what Youth Exchange is, how you became involved, and then your experience with Julianne.
My wife Jane and I got involved with Rotary Youth Exchange partly because of Rotary GSE teams. Rotary has pretty well discontinued the concept of GSE teams now, but when I was club president and in that time period, GSE was, our club, for instance, would get together a team of 5 or 6 non-Rotarians and appoint one Rotarian to be the team leader, and that group of 4, 5, 6 people, whatever it might be, would travel to another country and meet up with a similar group in that country and spend about 4 weeks in that country exploring some topic. Each GSE team had a theme to it. It could have been healthcare, it could have been agriculture, it could have been manufacturing, marine fisheries, any of those kinds of things. And then after 4 or 5 weeks in the first country, both teams would come to the second country and spend another 4 or 5 weeks studying the same subject. And meanwhile, the people on the team coming from some other country had to be hosted. So Rotarians would volunteer to host these young adults. They were typically under 30, but young adults in their homes, and provide entertainment for them, and give them a little bit of travel around the district and the area and that kind of thing. And we probably hosted 7 or 8 GSE teams over the years, and just, it was a wonderful experience. Our 2 sons, who are now grown, still talk about Brendan, the police officer from Tasmania, and they became best friends with Brendan. And Sid went out and ran a 5K race, I think the Lookout Rotary Club's 5K race, and Sid was immediately convinced he never wanted to run, and Brandon was egging him on the whole time, because Brandon was in very good shape for a runner. But anyway, that was what got us into the whole international concept of Rotary. And a couple of years, well, fairly long after that, 2015 probably, John Skeibel, who was about to become the district governor, approached me and said, we've got a full-year youth exchange student coming from Canada, and the person who'd originally signed up to be the host family for that student has had to back out because of some problems, and would you and Jane be interested in taking the youth exchange student for at least some of the year? And I went home and asked Jane. I didn't have to. I knew the answer would be instant yes. So we became the American parents for a young woman named Julianne from French Canada. She lived about 200 miles north of Quebec City. And we met her at the airport in New Bern in August. We got a bunch of people to go up to the airport and have big welcome signs and all that. And the plane, as I remember, the plane landed like 2 o'clock, and by 4:30 we had her in the water at Fort Macon. She'd never been in water that warm before. Her grandparents owned a house on a lake up there, and she said on a good summer day it might be 60-degree water. And she was just overwhelmed. And that, both the temperature and the salty water. She'd never been in salt water before. And that was just the beginning of a year of complete laughs and fun and travel and tourism. We took her all up and down the East Coast. She went to Florida and as far north as Connecticut, Washington, D.C., just on and on and on and on. And we finally developed what we call Julianisms, because she'd have a little misspelling of a word or whatever. But just lots of fun. We'd take her to high school every day. She completed the senior year, 12th grade year, as a high school student. She'd finished, she had 1 year left in Canada after she got back from the exchange. But the American history teacher said she knew more about American history than any of the other students in the class. Yeah. So that was just a terrific experience.
Excellent. Thank you for that insight into the youth exchange.
And one other thought, if I could, is that youth exchange is, I think, one of Rotary's biggest strengths, and it's totally below the radar. Most people don't even know that it happens. It was essentially free of cost for us. We paid for Julianne going to a museum in Washington, D.C. or whatever, but there was no big fees involved. She and her family pay the airfare back and forth. We took her to the Atlanta convention because then she was flying home from Atlanta. She had her 18th birthday in Atlanta. We had a whole bunch of Rotarians, went to a restaurant, and we told the waiter that it was, secretly that it was her birthday and could they do some kind of special dessert. And almost immediately the owner of the restaurant came out from the back, and he had a stack about 3 feet high of funny hats. And he went around the entire restaurant, gave everybody a funny hat, and then we all sang happy birthday to Julianne. That's still one of our fondest memories.
That sounds like so much fun.
Oh, it was terrific. And I'd love to do more youth exchange here in Carteret County, but we can't find students that are interested in going abroad for a year.
There is one coming in.
Yeah, I've
now.
heard, Crystal told me there's one coming in, but I haven't heard of anybody going out. The district Julianne is in Quebec sent 42 students outbound that year. Yeah, they have a big party. They do a weekend kind of like our RILA event, and all of the youth exchange students are there. They've all been promised that they are going to be going away, but they don't know where they're going, and they unveil all those destinations right there in one big room with 40 or so students. Yeah, she said it's a huge competition to be nominated for youth exchange in the district that she's in. And we're still in touch to this day.
Awesome.
I sent her a picture of her wearing her funny hat on her birthday, which was a couple of weeks ago.
Let me backtrack a little bit. Now change gears. Obviously the Rotary Park was a super achievement of everybody here. Were there any other projects that you've worked on or any experiences in Rotary now that come to mind as something that is adds to the history of Rotary in Carter County?
One thing I did in 2017, 2018, probably, I don't remember exactly, was I was the area governor for Carteret County, and I got all of the clubs involved to commit money to help build the new Salvation Army building. Salvation Army was in a terrible building, had water leaks and all kinds of stuff, and the Salvation Army nationally decided to build a new building, and they were obviously looking for funding to help build it. Our Rotarian John T. Capps was instrumental in the group that got the first Salvation Army building set up in Carteret County. And here was an opportunity to make a lasting impact on the local community. And we got together pledges from each club. The Salvation Army allowed it to be a 5-year pledge, so you didn't have to pay the whole amount up front. And we collected well over $100,000 from the six Rotary clubs. And we got the family store named for John and Jane Capps. And that just makes my heart swell each time I walk in and see that sign hanging up there. And that was a great project.
Absolutely. That is one of the ones that we referred to when we were looking for the 100-year project and you sat in on a committee that made that decision for the 100-year project looked at options and came up with theater as the choice this year. I know I'm going to be interviewing John Skyble, but briefly, how do you feel about that project being the 100-year project?
I think the idea of helping the theater get back on their feet is a terrific project, and I fully support our efforts to help that. The theater brings such joy to the community, and in addition to the normal plays that are put on from time to time, they also do a lot of children's programming. And I've seen the magic on children's faces when they go to one of these theater events. I mean, they're really very unusual events that they have, and the kids just absolutely love it. And I think it's an important way to bring the community together too, to have the adults go to a 7 o'clock, 7:30 show, whatever it might be, and just sit around and forget all your cares for a couple of hours and watch the the play that's going on. The theater was dealt a tough blow from Hurricane Florence. They had been struggling for years to find a permanent location, and they finally found the old theater building on 14th Street in Arundel, and then along came Florence and took the roof off, and everything inside was soaking wet, including some new electronics that had been purchased to get the theater going again, sound system and lighting board and that kind of thing. So, you know, I think us trying to help the theater in their drive to rebuild and make better, I think that's a great place for Rotary to focus.
Can you tell me about the swimming program that you headed up for a couple years here at Carteret County for youth?
Yes, the swimming program that we got involved with is called Josh the Otter. It's a program that was developed by a family in Oklahoma City who lost a child at their home in a swimming pool accident. And through that program, we learned that deaths by drowning for children under 5 is a huge number, just an unbelievable number. And in this case, 10 or 15 people apparently were sitting around the pool having a good time, and nobody noticed that one of the kids had fallen in and couldn't get out. And that boy's name was Josh. And his parents have started up this large nonprofit and worked closely with Rotary clubs. So we signed up for it, and we bought a great big otter costume that somebody could wear. It was huge. The head on it was bigger than your average beach ball, and it was hotter than blazes wearing it. But for 2 or 3 years, between all the clubs in Carteret County, we got together and put on a program at every elementary school in Carteret County, where we, with the principal and teachers agreement, go into the school and somebody dress up in the costume as Josh the Otter. We even had Julianne do it once or twice. She was terrific because she had all the energy to go dancing and slapping 5 with the kids and all that kind of thing. And it was just a great show. And meanwhile, we sent every child home with a booklet about Josh the Otter. It was a coloring booklet and a DVD that they could play the Josh the Otter theme. And, you know, the whole thing was swim with a partner, don't go in the water alone. And we had a lot of fun with it, but it was also a heck of a lot of work. So it after a couple of years, it petered out. The schools were more concerned with security. They didn't want necessarily a bunch of strangers coming into the school to do programs in there and whatnot. But it was a lot of fun while it lasted, and hopefully we did some good for children.
Thank you. Now, we are digging for history. You've been talking about Rotary Today, basically Rotary Today. But this is a project to cover all of Rotary. As district governor, as area governor, as club president, with your relationship with John Tay, we don't want to bring his name up too much in this because the whole video is not about John Tay, but is there any history of Rotary in Carteret County going back to 1925 that you might have heard about that predated what your personal experience is? Are there any stories you've heard or accomplishments that you knew about that you heard that you could relate?
It's tough for me to relate history topics from Rotary in Carteret County that don't involve John T. And that's mostly because I learned everything I know about Rotary from John T. There really isn't much that I'm aware of other than the simple statistics, you know, that our club was started in the late 1980s. Your club was started in 1925. beyond that, I don't really know a whole heck of a lot other than as I mentioned earlier, we're very involved in bringing the Salvation Army to Carteret County. I believe that Rotarians also help set up the Chamber of Commerce as a group here in the county.
All right, well, I think we've covered, unless there's something else that you would like to, that you think would be helpful in discussing the history and or current day Rotary or the future of Rotary in Carteret County.
I think the future of Rotary in Carteret County is good. I obviously, from my experience in Rotary, I like it, I enjoy it, and have a lot of friends. I think the Rotary Foundation does incredible things around the world, and everybody in Rotary should support the Rotary Foundation with their financial contributions, whether it's $25 or $10,000. Every little bit helps, and the foundation is an amazing charity. They have been the highest ranked by Charity Navigator for, I think it's 13 straight years now. They spend almost, I think it's 95 cents of every dollar delivered goes to programs. Only 5% is used for administrative costs. There's very little in the way of salaries because there are very few paid employees when you compare it to 1.2 million Rotarians around the world.
Thank you, Doug. I have really enjoyed this. I mean, everything you've talked about, I knew about, but that's the sort of thing we're trying to capture, is those stories about Rotary. What has happened here in Carteret County and Rotary, is the distant past, what's going on today, and what we're looking to in the future. And you're one of the key people here in Carteret County for that. And you have been a leader and continue to be a leader, so thank you for taking the time to come and share with us.
You're very welcome, Barbara. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
All right, hang on one second.